Commissioners and Public Health.
We're good, sir. We're good.
Okay. We'll call the county board meeting for December 3rd to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Beth, roll call.
Sure. Commissioner Schlangen? Here. Commissioner Heinen?
Here.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Pop?
Present.
Thank you.
I'm gonna start saying that.
Okay, approve the agenda. Monty, do we got anything to add?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair, as presented.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. County board meetings are broadcast live and video recorded on YouTube. Please refrain from speaking from the audience area and come to the podium so viewers can hear you. The county board observes Robert's Rules of Order for its meetings, so please obtain the board's share consent before addressing the county board. Public comments are generally reserved for the open forum segment or public hearings. However, public comment on other agenda items may be allowed at the discretion of the board chair. As we begin today, please turn off your cell phones or turn them to vibrate. Thank you. Open forum.
There's no one signed up.
Okay. Consent agenda.
Move for approval of consent agenda items 1 through 4, Mr. Chair.
Second. Okay, we got a motion and a second for consent agenda items 1 through 4. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next we're gonna do the truth and taxation. Tonight, we are conducting a truth and taxation public meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss the proposed 2025 budget and levy. After the brief staff presentation, I will invite members of the audience to the podium for questions and comments about the proposed 2025 budget and levy. If you wish to address the county board, please sign up on the sheet in the back of the room. When you come to the podium, please give your name and address. If you have come here tonight with questions about the property values on your truth in taxation notice, please sign up on a separate list in the back of the room and our land services office will contact you. Please put down your telephone number and the best time for us to call. Again, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to discuss the proposed budget and levy, not specific property valuations. Please sign up to speak with the county assessor and they will do their best to address your questions. We will now begin with our truth and taxation meeting with staff report. Monty.
So just does that apply to anyone who has a specific question about your values that are on your statement? Anyone have specific questions about the values on your statement? So again, if you may want to sign up and then Brian can give you a ring when it's convenient for you, sir. Sure. Of course, if you want to testify, please do, but he can give you a call sometime later this week. Okay, so we're good?
Okay.
All right.
Is your mic on, Monty?
Yes, sir. I just wasn't close to it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All righty. Well, as you said, Mr. Chair, the purpose of tonight's Truth and Taxation meeting is to discuss the proposed budget and levy. The statutes really don't tell us specifically what to talk about. It just says it should be discussed and then the public given an opportunity to speak. So we have folks here tonight, so my comments are going to be deliberately brief. So there's lots of time for you all to hear from the folks that have shown up here tonight. So I'll go through this pretty fast. So I'd like to focus first on this summary that's in our packets. And this gives you a one-pager quick summary of the proposed 2005 budget and levy. The county's proposing a 4.98% levy increase from 24, a $24.9 million levy. Our 10-year average is still pretty low, 2.7% is the 10-year average levy change. The third bullet point down, as Brian told us, we're seeing a little bit of stagnation in our tax capacity. We've seen sizable growth in that the last several years. That has slowed down. A couple of factors: the increase in the homestead market value exclusion and some value reductions tied to sales data. We're going to see a slight reduction in our tax capacity, 0.7% for payable 25. So that will result in a tax rate increasing from 44% to 46.5. But I want to point out, we're still down from a peak of 77.6% back in 2014. So down substantially from where it peaked back in 14. The operating budget itself is almost $70 million, and that's due in part to a very large 2025 road program. It's going to be probably, I think as Chris told us, one of the biggest ones in history. Lots of things going on, finishing up Cashaw 7, the 29 extension, the 29 roundabout, lots of big projects. The nice thing is, though, most of that is funded with federal funds, state funds, our local option sales tax and millage tax. No levy dollars are going into the road program. So the next several bullet points down talk about, well, what makes up this increase for 2025? Well, as you often hear, employee compensation and benefits is the largest portion of that. We have a 2.5% general wage increase next year. Most of our employees still receive step increases. That averages 3.2%. And so that's kind of, as I usually say every year, county government is a people-intensive operation. So it's not surprising that when you see general wage increases, step increases, that translates into the largest part of your levy increase. Moving on down, the board approves the new positions for next year. We'll talk about that in a second. We're seeing increased out-of-home placements in human services. We're going to get some additional charges from the Department of Corrections as they allocate some of their central office costs to us. Just a little note there is that our probation office here is managed out of the St. Cloud DOC office. So they're going to start charging us for some of those central support costs. The board chose to add a dental benefit for our employees, new benefits starting in January, more comprehensive dental. At this point, all we have is preventative dental. This adds a little more comprehensive to cover more things like that, filling cavities and so on. Excuse me. We're seeing increased usage of the East Central Regional Juvenile Detention Facility, often called Lionel Lakes. More juveniles are being placed there. The last item is we're seeing a pretty decent increase from Extension because, as we heard, they need to be competitive trying to attract and keep regional educators, so they need to do something on wages for those folks. So that's why we're seeing that increase to us for those shared positions. I mentioned earlier there were some new positions that are approved. Moving on down to the new positions, 2 detention officers. Our sheriff told us that the Department of Corrections has told us that we need to fully staff all of our posts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As a compromise, the sheriff proposed going to what's called a 5-post jail, where 5 of the, I think it's 6 posts will be staffed 24/7, and that allowed the board to add just 2 positions rather than the 8 that the sheriff said we ultimately could need. To help pay for this, we're going to eliminate 2 part-time positions, and the board has asked the sheriff to bring the STS crew leader into the jail to cover shifts rather than having a crew out there, because crew sizes have been really small because the populations in the jail are so low. The board added an environmental technician, ditch inspector. Of course, as you know, we've been doing a much more aggressive ditch program the last several years, and the board wants to make sure those ditches are maintained. So we need someone to stay on top of that. And as Chris told us, environmental permitting is getting vastly more complex and time-consuming, and that will assist the highway department in managing that aspect of road design. Several positions in human services, a lot of them are driven by its caseload. It's caseload in income maintenance, it's caseload in men choices, it's caseload in the home and community-based services area. You heard from, I believe it was Sandy, talking about the backlog of getting to the men choice assessments. It's in, if I recall correctly, it was like 6 months to get to some folks, and we're supposed to do those a lot sooner, those men choice assessments for folks needing long-term care. Talked about the dental thing. So, Mr. Chair, so that makes up the changes in the proposed budget from 2024. I'm going to quickly go over. Yes, sir.
Monty, as a note, I think we should make the public aware that the added positions for the human services, with dealing with the caseload, is all grant related. So we get grants back from the state government for those positions.
Thank you, sir, for bringing that up. That is true, right? It's proposed by human services, all those positions are fully offset by revenue. So we earn revenue, we do more work, we earn revenue. So those are covered, right? No levy dollars are added for those positions. Yep. Thank you. Good point. All right. So really quickly, this is kind of under the subject of, the overall budget. Where does county get its money? How does it spend the money? Well, this graph shows you where the money comes from. As you can see, the largest part is the property tax levy, 37%. And again, kind of going back to that very large road program, we're going to receive $12.5 million, next year in state and federal resources for the road program. Human Services, as you mentioned, brings in substantial federal and state resources to help offset our costs to administer state programs. So almost $10 million, or 14% of our funding picture, comes from those Human Services revenue sources. A few other larger ones, you can see the wheelage tax and then the local option sales tax, $4.3 million. And again, that goes exclusively to roads, the Cashat system and the local road system. One I like to point out is County Program Aid. That is, you sometimes hear about LGA for cities. This is LGA for counties. And for us, it's only about 5% of our overall funding picture. I know with cities, historically, it was a lot larger. There were some instances where almost half a city's resources came from LGA. It was never the case for the county. It's always been, as long as I've been here, 22 years, it's always been about that 5% number. So it's a property tax relief mechanism, but it certainly has its limitations because it's not a large part of our overall funding picture. Now, where do the resources go? These are what I would call sort of operational categories. You can see salaries and benefits, the largest piece, almost a third. Capital projects is a big one this year with, again, all the road program, capital equipment that we need to replace in highway and elsewhere, sheriff squads. Operating budgets make 17%, and employee benefits are 12%. So that's obviously the biggest piece, of course, is health insurance, and so on. Debt service has been reduced down to a really small part of our budget, just 1%. We have one remaining bond issuance, and it'll be paid for in about 4 or 5 years. That'll be done, and we won't have any more debt. So moving on to this is I like to sort of give this illustration of what I would call a typical department, because when you look at the overall budget, you include the highway, this massive road program, it kind of tends to distort what a typical budget is. And a typical budget is primarily dominated by salaries and benefits. And the point I'm trying to make is that that's why when you have, a general wage increase, a general step increases, it does translate into those levy increases for most departments. Because most departments are supported by, in many instances, levy, like especially your general revenue fund departments, primarily levy. So I kind of like to point this out. For your typical department, almost 75% of their budget is made up of salaries and benefits. And again, what I'm doing here is I'm kind of just taking the capital off the page because in most instances, capital is funded with non-levy sources, like the road program. All right, so this is, I think, one of my last graphs is, this shows you by department. So where does the money go by department? Chris wins the award for the largest budget for next year, 31% for highway. It's probably the largest one ever. And then human services second at 23%. And then public safety, of course, which is the sheriff's office, which is the law enforcement side, jail. We also toss probation into that. And I believe we also put emergency management. So the top three make up 71% of the total proposed budget. And you may be wondering, well, what's general governmental? Well, that's like an auditor treasurer, land services, county board, county administrator, those kinds of general county functions. We lump into that category called general government. That's 16% of the overall budget. And again, you can see debt service is down to less than 1% of the overall spending budget. So, Mr. Chair, the rest of this is just detailed spreadsheets, things that I like. Not many other people do, but and they're in the packet. And I should say is that this material, let me just, if I can open up, if I may, in our county website is This information has been posted on our website for a couple of weeks, so folks to see. So when they go out there, what they'll find the summary I just went through. But they also, if they're really into budget stuff, the detailed line item budget is out there too. So I'm not sure how many pages, a couple hundred pages. So I think I start out this year. I mean, in essence, talk about the budget. This is the budget. All these detailed line items by department. So if someone wants to really get into the details and examine the budgets by line item, by department, it's out there on our website. So, Mr. Chair, that is all I had.
Does anybody have a budget book here?
The-
We got a budget
So,
book like this.
I'll, at this point, what I'll do is I'm, of course, available to answer any questions as best I can and turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, County Board, any questions for Monty?
Nothing new to us.
No. Anybody in the audience want to speak on this or ask any questions? Okay. Just come to the podium and say your name and address, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Glenn Cashmitter, 4785 55th Street Northeast. I'm part of a family farm corporation, and I know we're talking about taxation and all that. I'm very concerned. What is our number one industry in Benton County? I believe it's agriculture. And I'm kind of concerned because I'm the president of the Benton Mille Lacs Farm Bureau Federation, and farmers have came to me and said, Glenn, do we realize that Benton County's taxes is getting crazy? And obviously, when you go from 2023 to 2024, and we're going to see a 30% reduction in gross revenue on the farm because of crop prices, it gets to be a bit of a challenge. So as a farmer, as a lifelong member or resident of Benton County, I'm just concerned. Some of the big ones is Pilgrim's Pride over there on Highway 10. As a county, what are we going to do to protect our number one industry, which is agriculture? That's the number one sector is Pilgrim's Pride, Golden Plump chickens. And I'm glad that we see the budget of using some good money for roads and bridges and all that, because everything we produce on the field has to go down a road. But I just want to emphasize that on behalf of all the farmers of Benton County, please keep in mind when we're setting our budget, what do we have to do to keep our number one industry alive? We have 2 huge machinery dealerships in the county, and we have to try to keep them, and we don't want to lose anything. We drive up the road, we see Morrison County, Little Falls. They have a lot of industry going there. Why can't we get some of that? It's a constant challenge. So like I said, on behalf of the farmers, I thank you to you gentlemen for doing what you're doing, but do what we can to try to keep our taxes down. Thank you.
Thank you. Believe me, it's a tough conversation every time. I mean, when we start our budget, just with the wage increases, we're looking at a 5% levy right there. And from that point on, we got to start working down. Board, you guys got anything?
I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where we end up starting every year is this magic 5% number on our wages. And
Yeah,
we sit around for 2.5 days and argue, and we got it down to 4.98.
Yeah.
yeah. And the other part is that we've seen the value of land go up and farms go up in value, and they're carrying a big burden with that because it's based off your total valuation. And when we continue as farmers, as you know, Glen, I farm, and when we continue to purchase land at these high rates, we're not helping ourselves at all. I mean, it's it's based on what the sales were across the county.
And Glenn, you mentioned a little bit too, and the positive side of that, and you hit it right on the head. I believe 85% of our county's land use is in ag in some way, shape, or form, whether it's emus or chickens or dairy, everything in between, right? And we do have very strong right to farm ordinances set in this county, and I think we do our very best to promote ag as much as we possibly can. Because again, that number is 85%, it's not 25%.
Right.
So we're very much aware of that.
One other thing we might want to point out is that, over the course of since 17, we established Benton Economic Partnership, and they've done a lot of good things in the county to attract businesses, bring businesses to us. I don't know if you're aware or not, but that organization just found us $1 million that we were going to have to put off the levy into County Road 29 and 1. And without that organization, we'd have never found that money. So, if you can get out and promote BEP, it's a membership, county-driven organization that's doing a lot of good for the county. There's several businesses that have came in and expanded or had a startup from that organization, and the county does support it to somewhat. But boy, there's a lot of good businesses out there that are supporting it every day.
Yep. And we hear it at the state level. I'll consider the three of us more city with Sauk Rapids in St. Cloud area, but we hear from extensions down in the cities on like how well our county's doing on ag and how we're promoting things, and I think you guys do a very good job of pushing that stuff forward.
Thank you, Glenn, for your comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else would like to speak?
My name is Daniel Dolan. I live out on 13015 85th Street Northeast Foley. Question I have is, I didn't really look at all these increases over the past several years. We've only been here 7 years. And has it been a static increase every year of a certain percentage, or where's that at?
Good question.
Monty can answer.
Yeah, Monty can answer that, but I think it's been pretty consistent.
Pretty consistent, yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Let's see here. It's that graph, it's in the packet. I still have this open. Yeah, so that's the best illustration right there. So these are the annual percentage increases in the levy, starting back in 16. You can see, follow my finger across there. So it's the last few years where
2022, we really hit it.
5.9, yeah, 5.47 last year, 5.15. And as Commissioner Johnson pointed out, a lot of that's just compensation driven, and we're trying to be competitive on wages and benefits. So that's a lot of the driver. Back in these years, we had some debt getting paid off, which really helped keep the levy down. But we're down to having one debt right now, and that's going to be paid off in about 4 years. So that really helps in those years.
So what is that last levy you just talked about that's gonna be gone in a year?
It's about 300,000. It's like 4 years.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
okay.
the 2014 tax abatement bonds for the roundabout corridor. So
Yeah.
it's about 300,000 in 4 years. Yeah.
One other quick question. I do know you guys we're building a new building here in Benton County in Foley. When is that, how is that gonna affect taxes, and when is that gonna go into play?
But I
Go ahead.
I'd like to start, but let's not put the cart in front of the horse. We're not building one at this point.
Oh, okay, I seen it on the news. It was right there.
It's on the news. We're going through the process of figuring out what the costs are gonna be on it. And if you go through, basically what we have right now and what the upgrades are to bring it, like we got elevator needs, we got so many upkeep needs right now. We gotta look at all options. One of the figures that we got to redo this building and to get it where we need, plus add on for all the space that we can't use down below, was it 75 cents on the dollar, 80 cents on the dollar? So I think that came in at like 21 million.
22 million.
Yeah.
So that's off the books for now then.
That's off, well, it's off the books. We're in the process of getting pricing back on what it would cost. And then we'll be doing, 4 or 5 community outreaches to let people know options and everything like that. So.
And
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if I could, maybe just to answer that question a little bit better, is we have purchased the property across the road.
Yep.
Yep.
So the county does own that lot for a future building at some point. And
Yep.
so we're in those discussions of, is that the direction we're gonna go or not?
One other quick thing was, what are you, when you talk about road maintenance and taxes, and is there any road improvements coming up? I seen that they're gonna redoing 43 out of town in a couple of years all the way to Golden Spike Road and 66 out here, but is there anything this coming year, road projects that are in the budget?
Maybe, Chris?
Chris,
would
you want to address the 25 road projects?
Yeah.
Yeah, as Monty indicated earlier, it's a big year. So yeah, County Road 43 in town here actually is in the budget next year. That's going to be a joint effort with the city of Foley. They're going to reconstruct some of their streets in town, and Norman Avenue in Foley is also a county road. So that's one of them. We got a couple bridge repair projects up on 22 and Granite Ledge, and then on 51 southeast of town. Both of those combined is about $2 million. And once again, about half of that is being funded with federal funds. The big County Road 29 and County Road 1 roundabouts there on the north side of Sauk Rapids, that's almost a $4 million project now. Thankfully, we got that $1 million grant. Somebody mentioned BEP getting for us. We have $1 million worth of just Excel Energy relocations in that project. In the budget, though, in these numbers was also reconstructing CASA 3 and County CASA 5 in Gilman. We think that's going to be delayed now because Gilman has a significant portion of that project where they want to reconstruct their sewer lines under our road, and they don't have all their funding in place. And then we've got some mill and overlays. There's a sand mix overlay on County Road 25 for next year. Our routine maintenance of patching and crack filling is in that budget as well throughout the county. So.
And hopefully finishing up CASA 7.
Yes, that's right. Because since that was a 24 budget, that's going to carry over into 25. Thank you. I forgot about that. So CASA 7 reconstruction, which we started this fall, will continue next year and finish up. So just to put in perspective, it costs about $1.5 million per mile to reconstruct a road nowadays. So that's the world that we're living in.
And it was just, what, 800,000?
Yeah, when we did
2017.
County Road 78, 7 or 8 years ago, it was about $750,000 per mile. So
That local option sales tax is really helping our county.
Yep. That really is. But one other thing you might want to note is that if you took all the levies in the whole state, every county in Minnesota, we are the 28th lowest. There's a lot of counties that have a higher levy than we do, so we're number 28. And we've taken the tax capacity since I've been here. When I got in, we were like, what did Monty say, 76, 78th out of 87, and we're down in that 40s, We need to get down. My goal always was that we can be middle of the pack. I don't think we're ever going to be on the lower end because we don't have the drive for businesses like some counties do to come to the county. We're working on that, but it just don't seem to happen. So, we work on it every day. Every time we have budgets or we have something going on, we work on trying to get Benton County competitive because, as you know, businesses are not going to come to Benton County if you're in the higher end of the tax rate.
And to go a little bit further on your question on the building, believe me, the five of us up here have been working diligently on that. We've shut it down for a while because pricing kind of got out of control and a few things. So, we understand completely. All of our taxes go up with something like that, and it's got to be done the right way. That's why we took the extra steps to figure out if we do stay in this building, what is that going to cost us? And I think a lot of people would agree that if you have to spend, 75 cents on the dollar to redo a building that's this many years old, why not just do it right and do a different building if it fits in the time with everything coming off the bond ratings and stuff like that, all of our debt coming down to nothing? Because if we don't do something, we're gonna have to put a substantial amount of money in these buildings. So them are the things that we'll be bringing out to the public, and we want to hear everybody's opinion. Anybody else on that?
The city council meeting last week, and they turned down fixing 43 in the city of Foley. They turned that down. So I don't know if they're not gonna fix their portion of the road when they do it, or if they're just not, or somebody else is gonna do it, or. It was in the city council meeting last week, so.
Imagine that.
That's news to me.
Chris?
Yeah.
You might wanna check it out, I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, I haven't received that. We're still working on finalizing engineering plans and drawings for that project. So.
I just listened to the city council meetings and it was on there and I didn't know.
I guess a
Oh.
phone call tomorrow would
Guess
be.
we'll find out.
Yeah. Chris, you want to handle that?
That's part of my job, yeah.
Anybody else want to speak on anything?
Is this stuff that's on the computer, can you get that on your computer at home?
Yep.
Monty, do you,
Yeah, it's on
Public-
our county webpage.
Okay.
It's public
Right
knowledge.
on the homepage, you'll see a link under the news, and it takes you to this presentation, and then that line item detail, it's all out there on the webpage. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And if anybody wants to borrow a budget book, I'm happy to give mine up.
Yeah, they can have mine too. I just don't have it with me.
Yeah. So mine's in my truck.
Right. And
Does anybody know what the comparisons are in like Mille Lacs County and Morrison County compared to the increases in Benton County?
Yes, we,
River County or
yep.
wherever?
Those are available.
They're available.
Okay.
I can tell you last year, was it last year, year before, Mille Lacs was
Last
looking at
year.
27%. They got it down to 16.
Yeah.
How about Stearns County with their new jail?
I-
They go sky high?
That new jail is,
Got to prove a sales tax.
that's a
dollars.
sales tax deal, so that doesn't affect their levy. So everybody around here is gonna be paying, anybody who goes and buys anything in St. Cloud is gonna be paying for that.
Just like our local option sales tax that we receive, like if somebody from
St. Cloud.
from St. Cloud buys something at Runnings, Benton County gets part of that.
Yeah. Believe me, I tried with the Stearns County Commissioners to tag our building onto theirs, but that didn't
That
work.
didn't fly, did it?
So,
And our local option sales tax for our roads, 39% of that comes from people that don't live in Benton County, that just
Yep.
travel through Benton County. So
Purchasing.
purchasing items, whether, that don't live in the county. So that's why we're seeing a larger road and we're getting our roads more or less fixed up to where they should be instead of where we were.
we are also actively pursuing federal dollars yearly now, and that's been paying off dividends. We did get the earmark of $5 million for the extension of 29, which is gonna help bring traffic around the school in Sauk Rapids, as well as it should spur development out in that area, which are gonna help taxes. We were working on other items such as County Road 1 from 29 to 23, getting that expanded so that it can be a corridor for the APO area. So we're lobbying hard for federal funds that we could never do in Benton County without, and it's paying off. I think we're close on that raise and that federal funding for one. So,
Even with that roundabout, we got grants for that roundabout too, that's getting put
Each
in on
separate.
29.
You know, Mr. Chair, if I could, maybe back to Glenn's comment about, and this isn't specifically ag, but I just want you to understand what we're trying to invest back into Benton County. So Benton County received approximately $8 million in American Rescue Plan dollars from COVID, right? And so we decided, we spent about a little over $3 million in investing into broadband countywide to the home, to the businesses. That was in cooperation with Benton Cooperative. And that fiber is all being installed for free to the site. So we invested about $3 million of that. And then the other dollars, a lot of that was invested back into our cities for expansions and any kind of infrastructure, water and sewer, so that they can build some more homes. What Rice is putting up 40-some homes.
Yeah.
We gave them dollars for a new water tower. Gilman, $400,000 to them.
You had to use that in a certain amount of time.
We did. It had to be designated by the end of this year and
Yep.
spent by the end of '26. But my point is, we tried to take all those dollars and invest them back into the county. And we were one of the very few counties in the
Yeah.
state of Minnesota that did that. A lot of counties took those dollars and put it into their general fund.
Benton County actually received an award at AMC, Association of Minnesota Counties, last year for our broadband project. Because we went all in, and we'll be one of the few counties that are broadband countywide.
Chair, I was going to add there's a question about, the levies, and a statewide average is 6.4%, statewide average proposed levies. And I think we're at 4.98.
Happen to have Mille Lacs and Morrison
I
there?
do. Here we go. Mille Lacs, let's see, 6.1. Take my glasses off. Mille Lacs, 6.1. Morrison, 4.7.
Okay.
So we're just a little bit more.
Just a bit under us, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing, a lot of people don't necessarily realize, correct me if I'm wrong, Benton County is roughly the 25th largest populated county in the state of Minnesota. A lot of people forget Benton County goes all the way to the river. So we have all of East St. Cloud, Sauk Rapids. And so there's significant dollars drawn there.
Okay.
We're one of the fastest growing counties in Minnesota.
Yep.
Which I didn't realize.
Yeah, I mean,
It's hard to see that we're one of the fastest growing
Right.
counties.
When we invested all this money back into the cities, our goal was really to drive housing, whether that's in Rice, they needed a water tower, whether that was in Sauk Rapids, infrastructure build out. Because if we can build 100 homes, that's a gift that keeps giving every year for 100+ years. So that was our mentality when we did that, instead of putting it into revenue loss, which a lot of people did. I'm gonna say probably 80% of the counties and cities put it into either revenue loss or did something for them, for their own county or city.
Correct. Every city in the county got ARPA funds from us.
Yep.
For something,
plus their own.
plus their own.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody else got any questions? Great questions too, by the way. Thank you. Okay. If not, we'll move on to Chris. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks,
That was a
Sandy.
dumb question. Does Chris not need the screen? Okay. You did have a caller online. Did the caller want to have any comments?
Ask 'em.
Would the caller online have any questions for the board?
Comments about the budget? Caller. Okay, guess not. Just listening.
One last time for the caller online. All right, Chris.
All right. Yeah, Monty's right. You know me, I always like to have things on the screen. So the agenda item I have before you today is a follow-up to an item we talked about at the last board meeting. Larkin Hoffman has proposed to us to offer lobbying services for us. And we talked about it last board meeting, 1-year agreement. Well, I went back and asked if we would consider a 2-year agreement, could they offer us any discount? And so they are. They're offering us a 5-year or 5% discount if we would enter into a 2-year agreement. It comes out their fee for state lobbying services would be $3,800 per month. So for a 2-year, 2 years would be $91,200 to provide some representation at the state capitol next year. If you recall, last board meeting, we talked about things, more road funding for the Mayhew Lake Road corridor or more funding for the 29 extension. If there's an opportunity for a sales tax exemption on this new building, we heard that could provide some savings to the county as well. So I just present this to you for consideration if you would like to enter into an agreement with Larkin Hoffman for lobbying services. I did also ask about federal. And so they'd be willing to offer us some federal representation out in Washington, D.C., if you would like to consider that. That's an additional fee, though. That's an additional $3,500 per month. And for 2 years, that would be $84,000. So something for you to consider. So,
Mr. Chair, back to your comment earlier about a $5 million earmark from the feds. I mean, that's why we're even considering this at all. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of money, but some of the return,
Yeah,
pretty good return on investment.
exactly. Plus the $750 on each SIP
Yeah.
grant for the roundabout.
Mr. Chair, people have to understand that we as commissioners don't have the amount of time to be at the Capitol pushing for these funds. The last 3 years we were in DC, Jared and I, Scott, and
Ed was out there as well.
Commissioner Pop, all 4 of us have been out in DC looking for funding, try to find funding. And in my opinion, we came to a roadblock in a sense, because we never know when bills are put up at the Capitol. We never find out about that. And we've been working with our local representatives too here, and we need help. we need help. We need more help than what we can provide.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
And I think this come about when me and Chris were visiting with somebody that, from this company, and they were representing Chisago County.
That's
And
right.
Chisago County had nothing but good things to say about how much money they got for US or Minnesota 8 and county roads like that. And they said that it was all done because of this. And, you know, I don't know if we give it a shot for 2 years and see what the dollar numbers are. It just seemed like they were doing things that we couldn't do, you know, and they do it every day. We don't do it every day. As commissioner, supposed to be a part-time job, and
Supposed to be.
yeah, supposed to be, and you just can't attend everything that's up there for, you know, to get those funds. So
And we never find out about when they've got the hearings or anything
Yeah,
either,
yeah.
you know, and like you said, Commissioner Pop, they're there every day.
And you may be surprised that when there's stuff that does come up, they're going to notify.
Right.
They'll notify the county or whatever, and then you may be called upon to go down and testify before that. So it may be causing more work in general for the county board to address some of these issues that were there. But it's a fact about knowing it when it happens.
I do believe that at the state level, it just seems like at the national level, we've got the APO, which we are a part of with the Benton County area, and a lot of our big road projects right now, the high dollar ones, the 5 extension or County Road 29 extension, and the County Road 1 from 29 to 23. Those are the big projects that are in the APO area, the area planning organization. So we get lobbyists out in DC under the APO. So when we tag along, like I was just out there last month, we had direct meetings with Senator Smith, Klobuchar, Emmer, Stauber, pretty much everybody out there in our area we got direct meetings with due to the lobbyists getting us in there, getting us 20 minutes to a half an hour. Just so happens to be I sat on the plane back with Senator Smith and Stauber, and it's like I could have just flew out there and flew back with them. But I got more time there, but
Better conversation on the plane.
but
conversation.
honestly, those personal relationships, Senator Smith's Anna, her right-hand person, actually brought up, again, this is now the third year in a row, she's brought up our book that we made for the 29 extension, and she says she shows it to everybody that come in looking for money, saying, this is what you need to do. This is how we understand what your projects are. And we got the money the first year on that.
We did.
So as a board, I think we're committed to keep going out and looking for every dollar we possibly can. And that's only gonna help grow our community and keep our levy going in the right direction. And I don't know that going in the right direction is down, but if it's just gradually going up, to me, that's a win right now compared to a lot of counties out there.
Right. And I look at it a little differently. I look at it, the money's there. If we don't get it, somebody else
Somebody else is going to.
Yeah.
So is there any grant money available for something like this, or what's your return on the dollar investment you're getting?
You know, we're kind of in the dark. We're going what other people say about the company and what they've done. We don't have any hard numbers. You know, they haven't given us any hard numbers on what they expect for return.
I think people would be surprised of how many counties have lobbyists.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I don't know how many counties, but I will just say, you know, everything south of us, all those big counties south of us, they have lobbyists. They all have lobbyists, and that's why they get all the federal money.
3 years ago, we went out to the Transportation Alliance out in DC. It's a big organization, everything like that. And everybody's like, oh, it's a waste of money. You're on the plane going out and everything. You get out there, and after you get in, you're like, everybody's like, this is a best kept secret. Don't tell anybody this is good, because the more we can keep this down, the more money we all get. So the more that they keep seeing you, and the senators and House of Representatives, they all tell you that, hey, we appreciate you coming out, shows that you care, shows that you really want the money, and they come through. They want to be at these ribbon cutting ceremonies and stuff like
And
that.
we're in a unique situation, whether you like earmarks or not, it's a whole nother argument, but Representative or Congressman Emmer, you know, he's a fairly large profile in the party, and he gets a handful of earmarks that he's gonna spend in his district. So somebody in his district's gonna get it.
Yep.
And we were so chosen to be picked.
We were, so.
Did you have a question?
Just a comment, I've been down to the state capitol probably 25 years every year with the Minnesota Farm Bureau,
Oh, sure.
and they have lobbyists.
Mhm.
Because if you don't have somebody at the table, you're barely on the menu.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
It's a good way of putting it, too.
You know, and it's a lot of money. They're not working 12 months out of the year, but they really are, because it's, if you're not there, you're not there.
Yep.
You have to be there. And you guys can't be there. The public can't be there all the time. Who do you compare it to as far as cost? It's hard to say, but
Well, it's like our cost to go out to get that $5 million was probably $5,000.
It's a pretty good return.
right.
Yeah.
Very good return.
So you only have to hit the lottery a couple times every 5 years to pay for that, that money you pay on a
Well, and
lobbyist.
you could look at it frankly, the $5 million bought a few trips,
Yeah.
Did, yeah.
so.
And they're not exactly fun trips, because I don't see myself ever living in DC. So I was definitely looking forward to getting back on the plane coming back. So,
90 degrees, wearing a suit and tie.
Yeah.
so
So is there any chance you could get 3 bids for this project for these lobbyists? I mean, how did we ever pick this particular company to represent you for
that
this?
that's a good question, and I'll kind of go through it. But I think we had some good communication with another county, correct?
Yeah, so Commissioner Pop mentioned it. So we knew right away that Chisago County uses this firm. I also learned, so I talked to that county engineer, and they were very happy with them. And some of those things that we already talked about. It takes somebody being down there at the Capitol. We've had good luck talking to our representatives for our area. They're always happy to talk to us, but in these committees, they're just a handful of votes. We need somebody that can walk into the doors of these other legislators that wouldn't give you or I the time of day because we're not in their district, but their vote counts. But also I learned that Washington County uses this firm, Larkin Hoffman, and they were very happy. That's where I learned that Washington County used them for to get some money for some capital funds for some building projects that they had for county buildings and stuff. That's where we learned that, well, maybe now we broaden our horizon past just road and bridges. Is there other funding sources that we're not used to going after that they could open our eyes to? So to answer the question, we didn't approach or talk to other firms, but we did vet this firm and call some references to see what they were happy with. So
And they represent quite a few counties, correct?
Yes.
yeah, so
And I think a lot of it had to do, our gut feeling was pretty good after, the next day after we met with their rep out in DC.
yeah,
I mean, it really felt like you really, care.
Well, and to expand on your comment at our last board meeting, this was really more of a 1-year investment. We felt, we didn't know if we could get a big enough return in 1 year, so let's go with 2.
Yeah.
And then see if we can get a discount to do it. So that's what we've got in front of us today.
Commissioner Gopinski, myself, and Chris also had an interview with them, and that was about an hour and a half.
Yep.
Very good, very good.
And, we do a pretty good job with our local representatives, but I have to laugh. One of the comments that a local rep made was, well, you got picture a bus going to a football game with a bunch of students that are gonna be playing, right? Well, our group is in the trailer, so you need to get on the bus. And that wasn't, we were talking with the wrong people.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and Chris makes a very good point. It's not just our area legislators, it's
Yep.
the other ones that sit on the committees that got to get convinced about our projects.
Correct.
yeah, we had the bonding tour come to Benton County last year.
Yep.
Yep.
And we had to testify to the bonding tour on the right in front of the Sauk Rapids School District. And we did very well. Matter of fact, I think it was just a stop for, I'll say, we had a chance because they were stopping. But at the end of that meeting, it turned out very well. We were one of the highlighted projects. Didn't get funding, but.
Yeah, Commissioner Pinsky and I testified, so did Chris, so did the school superintendent.
Yep.
Brad Bergstrom.
And O'Driscoll.
And O'Driscoll, too.
But obviously, you guys know there was no bonding bill
Bill,
last year.
right.
So,
So it takes somebody even just advocating for a bonding bill first, and then, once they get everybody in favor of that, say, hey, Benton County's got a good project. Of course, we're always gonna say it's a good project, but when other people are saying it's a good project, that helps.
Yeah, and Benton County is starting to be pretty well represented down at the state level with AMC, with all the counties. We got the broadband award last year. Monty, do you want to speak on the MCIT? Can you or not? Or?
Oh, that's right. This year, you mean we're gonna be recognized in the work comp area by MCITs. It's County of the Year in the work comp category. So we're pleased about that. Yep.
Commissioner Pop has been the policy chair for the
2 years.
Ag and was it
Environment and Natural Resource.
So Benton County's being pretty well represented down there. Okay.
So, what are the wishes of the board? Does the board wish to proceed with entering into an agreement with these, or?
I'll make a motion to enter into an agreement with the Larkin Hoffman for lobby services.
2 years.
For the 2 years, great.
And
That's
point
in
of
front us.
clarification, is that for state of Minnesota representation, or does that include
Just
federal?
state.
State of Minnesota representation. Okay, got it.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other questions?
Source of funds.
I think
Commissioner Johnson's question, where is this gonna be paid for?
At this point, I would suggest the commissioner contingency.
Okay.
Yep,
Does that sound okay?
that way it puts it on us.
And I think Mr. Cashmitter said it best. If you're not there, he sees it every day.
Yeah.
I'm fine with Commissioner contingency.
Yep.
You can call the question, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we got a motion and a second for a 2-year commitment with Larkin Hoffman for lobbying. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Commissioner comments. Do we want to do our updates?
I'm happy to start if you'd like to go. All right. November 19th, I was able to sit in on the culture team. I know Commissioner Heinen and Commissioner Kapinski are normally on that. Commissioner Kapinski was absent, so I was able to sit on that.
That was when I was in DC, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So that was well worth my time. The 20th, I had a Highway 23 Coalition Board meeting. The 21st, Commissioner Pop and I sat in on the wetland interviews, the wetland specialists that we're hopefully going to be hiring. Also had a Foley Care Board meeting that evening. And then, of course, we had our cow yesterday with GLT Architects and finalizing our budget numbers. So that was it for me.
Okay, I had, after our last board meeting, I had the library board. We were pushed the $350,000 towards the 2026 budget of surplus money that we've generated over the year. I had a MICA meeting for the executive committee. We're still going out for interviews for our MICA CEO or executive director. Me and Commissioner Kapinski and Schlungen were at the extension deal that was well attended down at Jack and Jim's in Duelm. Good food, good participation. A lot of things get done. We got a lot of volunteers. You got to really, this is the largest attendance since I've been going that they've had.
Enthusiastic.
Yep. This, Ann Olson downstairs has got more enthusiasm than anything I've ever seen. I think that's about it. That's it for me.
Okay.
I did the interviews with Commissioner Johnson and that for Water Tech.
So I also sat in with Commissioner Johnson with the cultural team, had a historical meeting. I actually sat in on the BEP board meeting Thursday morning.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting, of course. I'm also on the infrastructure housing committee with Central Care. So I've been having a lot of meetings with them, talking about housing, and that's all I had.
I also had the Indian Township meeting.
Okay. I had the HR interviews. The APO, we are going to table the Beltline talk right now on the environmental until after the new elected officials get in. St. Cloud has got a new mayor and 3 new council people. So we are tabling that, but right now it's looking at for environmental 1, we would split our portion of 50%. So whoever, Benton County's belt line is already gonna be taken care of with this 29 extension. So anything environmental around the belt line would be paid by, the APO area at a 50%, whatever jurisdiction that is in, they pay 50%, and then they pay their percent of the other 50% of their APO portion.
Okay.
So it's a very fair way of doing it, and I think that Beltline is gonna be huge, going forward.
Are you chairing that next year?
I will be chairing that next year, yep. So, but yeah, that'll be great, cause I know that there's a few cities that are not on board on that,
Okay.
but it is what it is. But obviously, that'll have to come back to our board to approve and everything like that. 4-H, that was great, that was well attended. When I walked in.
Entertaining?
I ended up getting back late, from a basketball tournament for my son, and I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, I was like thinking there was gonna be 20 people there. There was well over 100.
110.
Yeah. So, it was well attended. Then I had the DC trip, that went very well, out there. It was the APO, it was, Brian Gibson, who's, the APO, we'll call it director. And then, Joe Persky from, Stearns County. Rayanne Danielowski was supposed to be there, but she had some medical stuff come up. But, we went around and we lobbied for everything from 23, from Foley to, Mora, to everybody to, we hit everything we possibly could, including housing, including homeless, including you name it. So our 20-minute meetings usually ended up being about 40. So, and you get Joe and myself going, we can talk a little bit.
Yep.
Other than that, I had pretty much the rest, what you guys had. That's all. Monty,
You ready to sit some cows?
we are done for the year, right?
Yep.
Oh, no.
Our
No.
calendar is full, to be honest with you.
I left mine at home.
All we wanted to mention is the celebration of the completion of the Foley wastewater regionalization project will be tomorrow from 4 to 7 at Stone Creek Golf Course. We put this on the committee, the whole listing previously to meet the 3-day posting requirement. The city asked for our SVPs. Is there who might be able to attend so we can let Sarah know?
I already let Sarah and Mark know that I can't attend.
You let know that you could not.
I will be flying out in the morning, so I
Understood.
cannot.
Yeah.
Well, I can go, as long as somebody should go from the county, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I really would like to, but I had prior commitments.
So Commissioner
Yeah, throw
Pop,
me. I'll go too.
Commissioner Heinen, and we will so inform Sarah of that. Okay. And really, this last just a reminder. A week from Friday is that tour of the St. Cloud Industrial Products facility. I know we don't usually have things on Friday. I just wanted to mention. I know Amanda sent out a specific invitation to that just recently, and I just want to make sure everyone had that. You know, I already told Amanda Fridays are kind of tough, so maybe not everyone could be there, but I just want to remind you about that. We'll have a lot more cows to talk about at your December 17th meeting, like goal setting, meeting with St. Cloud Airport, and your next meetings with GLT and Contegrity. I spoke with Evan earlier today, and he was not ready to commit to a meeting date, not knowing where Pete was going to be at with estimates and so on.
Okay.
So he was not ready. You may recall there was discussion about the board meeting with Excel Energy, and he was going to get dates from Excel, and we'll have those for you on December 17th. Just get that scheduled. So a lot more cows to talk about that day.
Okay.
And just so the board's aware, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but we will more than likely have a ditch authority meeting on the 17th.
Yes.
So we don't have any new cows. Oh, I take that back. We want to ask you then to just do a motion on the Foley one. So thank you.
So move.
Second.
Thanks.
Okay, we got a motion on the Foley Committee of the whole, wastewater, groundbreaking, or what is it, appreciation?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The cows are set.